To Larry Tamblyn. We're here on Visual Radio. Larry is, as we've said, the keyboardist, songwriter, vocalist, and one of the founders of the group the Standells, famous in Boston for Dirty Water, even though you did come out of the West Coast. Tell us a little bit about how the song Dirty Water, with its Boston lyrics, came to a group which was basically based on the West Coast, Larry.
Well, it's one of these stories that just there's no logic to it. Happened. Ed Cobb wrote the song, who was our producer, and Ed, the version he had sounded nothing like the end result. He just had a standard 32 bar blues song, and it wasn't much. And so we took it and we said, look, we'll do it, but we have to arrange it the way we want. And we added the guitar riff, the famous guitar riff. We added a lot of the lyrics in the song, the wonderful start off of the song, the vocal asides. I'm going to tell you a story. It's all about my town. I'm going to tell you a big fat story, baby. It's all about my town. And things like that. Have you heard about the Strangler? I'm the man. I'm the man. We wrote a lot of that and changed the chord structure a bit, and it was quite. We contributed a lot. We never got writing credits, and as a slap in the face, Ed Cobb gave the arranging credits to a friend of his who never set foot in the studio.
Whose name is on the record label.
Yeah, his name was put on the record, and I happen to admire him. It's Lincoln Mayorga. He's a great orchestrator and composer, and I happen to admire him. But he'll tell you to this day that he never set foot in the studio, and Ed did this with his friends.
It was kind of a favor type thing for a guy he knew from the scene. Now, Ed had been in the Four Freshmen, had he not?
Yeah, he was a pretty. Well, he was hip, but he had Kitty Lester before us, and he did some really nice songs. So he was pretty hip to what was going on. But he was one of the Four Preps.
And in addition to that, that was recorded in Armin Steiner's studio at the time. Is that correct, Larry?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that was a garage. It was a converted garage. It was in the back of his home, and so when you say the Standells are, the godfathers of garage punk, it really applies because that's where Dirty Water and Rary were recorded. It was in that converted garage, and it was not a pristine environment. Like I said, there was fiberglass on the walls. It was unfinished. It smelled like a gymnasium. I don't think there was air conditioning in there. And yet he had more hits out of that little place. I think a lot of Paul Revere and the Raiders stuff was done in there as well.
Was that probably just a 4-track studio at the time?
No, it was 3 tracks.
3 tracks?
3 tracks. Everything was done back then in mono because they didn't have the option of having a number of tracks to put instruments on and doing stereo imaging or anything like that. So it was all done in mono, and we did all the instruments on one track, and then we ping-ponged them to another track. That means you actually play that first track back onto a second track, then you add more instruments. So we doubled all of the instruments, and on that particular track, the drummer played the bass drum with a mallet, and that's how you got that unique sound of the heavy driving bass drum, and then that was all ping-ponged, along with the background vocals onto another track, and then we added the tambourine and the lead vocal.
And it was of course, the drummer at the time was Dick Dodd, is that correct?
Yes.
And the guitarist who came up with the guitar sign, was that Valentino, or Valentine or Valentino? Which does he go by?
Yeah, there's Tony Valentino that came up with it, and yes, but you're right. And neither one of them, of course, are with the Standells anymore. Dick passed away last year, and he hadn't actually been a regular member for 5 years. That's when we went on the European tour, and he had basically been suffering from bad health. He couldn't tour, and he couldn't it didn't sound the same as he did back in the 60s either.
Oh, that's too bad. But the guitar riff really is one of the classic riffs of the garage rock era, so that must have been quite exciting to come up with that, just banging around in Armin's garage, huh?
Yeah, it was. I think Tony was really good at coming up with those things. Our new guitarist, Mark Adrian, is equally as good. He's come up with a lot of really neat riffs for our album, if you hear it. But he's an excellent guitarist, probably one of the best I've ever worked with.
So the tradition of creative guitar playing lives in the Standells.
Absolutely, it's a key part of the group. And when we did this album, we were determined to make it sound like the Standells, like we never quit recording. That we're recording from the 60s on up until today. So the album takes you from the 60s, the more simple sounding Standells song, to a little more advanced arrangements, but still the Standells.